Have you ever noticed how your biggest breakthroughs almost always come after discomfort? It's not often that you have the breakthrough during the highlight reel. It's not when everything feels clear and easy and aligned. It's usually after the restlessness, the frustration you can't quite explain, or the quiet, persistent feeling that something in your life just isn't working anymore. You're still showing up, you're still doing the things, you're still functioning, but something inside you knows this isn't for me anymore. And what's interesting is it doesn't happen all at once. It happens in cycles. And as you look back over your life, I'm sure you can see these cycles. A nudge, a quiet whisper of something more, a complete breakdown of what is. The foggy middle, the goo phase where nothing feels clear and you're not where you were, but you're not yet where you're going. And then eventually a shift. You start to see things differently. Maybe you get therapy or you have a realization or a perspective shift or some healing. The shift comes after the foggy middle, after the breakdown. And if you've lived enough life, you start to wonder sometimes, is there a pattern to this? To growth, to healing, to manifestation, and to life. Because when you zoom out far enough, you start seeing this rhythm everywhere, this pattern. In nature, in emotional healing, in identity shifts, and in manifestation. The butterfly doesn't skip the chrysalis. It doesn't bypass the goo phase. The seasons, they don't rush themselves. They don't all of a sudden not do spring or fall. Nothing meaningful transforms without a middle phase. And yet when we are in our middles, when we are in our goo phases, we get really hard on ourselves. So I invite you to zoom out in your life and start to see as we go through this episode if you can see this pattern in your own life. Welcome back to the Awakening Her podcast. My name is Talia Joy, and I am really excited you're here. Before we dive in, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for pressing play, for spending this time with me. Thank you for being part of the community, for listening, for sharing, for sending me messages on Instagram, for leaving reviews, for allowing this space to grow and evolve and to receive what I teach here. I thank you so, so much because I receive so much just by doing this show. So here we are in 2026, and I'm going to be real. There's a feeling of transformation in the air right now. And honestly, it's not an accident. Of course, there is the January 1st, the date, the new year, the portal, the Chinese New Year that's coming up. But we are in a time of transition globally, cosmically, as humans. We are raising our consciousness, and there is transformation in the air right now. I can definitely feel that. And in that, I am so excited to announce the release of my book, The Delicate Art of Transformation. It is going to be available. It is available January 11th. This book has been 4 years in the making, not just written, but lived. And today's episode takes you through the framework of the pattern that I expand on in the book. This is the heartbeat of the book, the heartbeat of my work. So I'm really excited to announce that you can check the show notes for the link to grab your copy of The Delicate Art of Transformation, available 01/11/26, January 11th. I am so excited. So with that, take a sip of your water, take a deep breath, drop your shoulders, and let's dive in. All right, so I would say a natural gift that I have as a mentor, as a human design reflector, and honestly just as a human is that I see patterns. And you may be like this as well, right? You observe life and you see patterns, and I've always been this way. And to me, when I see a pattern or a truth rippled out, and we're going to talk about this, fully in the episode. So if you're kind of like, what kind of patterns? But when I see something rippled out in nature, a truth that is rippled out through the cosmos or in life, when something repeats itself in nature, in physics, in emotional healing, in the way that people are, I don't look at that like a coincidence. I actually start to piece together, these are things that feel like truths. In the way that if someone's like, did you know if you, grab a ball and drop it, it's going to fall to the ground? There's this thing called gravity. And then you try it and you're like, oh, hey, cool. There is this thing called gravity. It's true. And so then you see a leaf fall from a tree and you're like, oh, gravity. And then you see, whatever else, cars that stick to the road, humans, the way that we, stay on the earth. And we're like, oh, weird, gravity. If you jump, you come back down, huh? And then you start to trust it as truth. And that's very similar to how just me as Talia, as my own human, ever since I was a kid, I would notice patterns. As I started getting into more self-growth work, and at 14, I was reading Wayne Dyer books and reading about the law of attraction way before The Secret and, all of that before it was kind of mainstream. But I would see these patterns in something like spiritual growth or emotional healing or the law of attraction. And then, for years, a lot of I taught manifestation. But when I really got into manifestation deeper and deeper and deeper, I realized manifestation is self-growth with magic. You still have to shift your own identity. You still have to become the person that, leads the vision, or the person that writes the book, or the person that goes out for a walk. You still need to do that. Manifestation isn't just closing your eyes, wishing for something, opening your eyes, and it's there. There's actually a whole cycle to it, and it mirrors self-growth. And it mirrors personal transformation. And the more I looked at this, the more I started to see this same pattern of death and rebirth, of our own growth, our own cyclical, patterns of how we move through things. And I started seeing it in nature. And one key part that started this entire book was the process of the caterpillar turning into the butterfly. So of course we all know that it's a caterpillar and it goes into the chrysalis, it comes out a butterfly. Oh my goodness. A lot of us are very inspired by butterflies. But the more that I zoomed in on the process and literally researched it, like went, scientific to actually see and learn more deeply about the phases of transformation that it goes in and what's happening. And I started to see this pattern here again. And this is what initially started the book, was our own process of being where we are, moving through something and ending up at a more evolved or better place. As I say, it's the process of manifestation. It's the process of healing. It's the process of the seasons of the butterfly. And once you start to understand the cycle, once you start to see the pattern, you stop thinking you're broken. You can also, a lot of you that have been in my community for a long time, the goo phase, right? And sometimes you send me messages, you're like, Talia, I'm totally in the goo phase. Because once you have words for it and awareness, it's not just, I'm messed up, what's wrong with me? You're like, oh, I'm in a goo phase. So the more you learn the patterns, it's just like the full moon, or again, the seasons. If you're starting to feel a little bit lower and you realize it's fall or it's winter, there hasn't been as much sun, you can see that pattern and start to understand yourself and go, yeah, I always feel a little bit, heavier this time of year. It's that pattern. So patterns pattern recognition actually brings power. It allows us to see our growth and our own transformation and our manifestation journey as a system, as a process that we move through. And when you understand the cycle, you stop panicking when things fall apart. You stop assuming you're doing something wrong. When you feel blocked, I'm doing that in air quotes, when you feel blocked, you have now so many different places you can go, okay, it's not that I'm eternally blocked, but like, what's going on here? What is showing up? Where's the resistance? You would now have tools. So this is why I'm so excited in the book, The Delicate Art of Transformation, which is hilarious because it's delicate, but it's also anything but delicate transformation. It's messy, it's gooey, it's snotty, it's all the things, right? But it's also delicate. Like you feel like you're on a freaking tightrope of like, whoa, right? So I picked that title very much on purpose, but I'm so excited to share that with you in this episode, the whole framework, the whole pattern. pattern, but also go more in depth in the book so you can really see yourself in this. Because as I said, once you understand the pattern, you can stop panicking and stop feeling out of control or like you have no idea what's next. We can zoom in with compassion, grace, empathy, resources, and really go, okay, I'm in a phase. And that alone can change everything. So let's dive into the pattern. So phase 1, the beginning, is the initiation. And this is where it always begins. And depending on what we're talking about, whether it's your relationship to money you're moving through, or emotional healing, or the process of the butterfly, or your own journey of going after your goals, or manifesting, or self-growth, this is always where it begins, the initiation. The initiation is, depending on what we're talking about, what area of life, it's a nudge. It is a quiet knowing. It's a gentle whisper. Sometimes it's a subtle dissatisfaction where you're going like, this job doesn't feel aligned anymore. Or, this place I live, this partnership, the, habit that I have, this little nudge of like, ugh. Sometimes it's a nudge of something to move you forward, meaning like you need to travel or you need to go to Japan or start a business. So the nudge is the initiation. It's the speck of what's to come. The sense that something isn't aligned anymore and or you are ready to expand, this whisper of to pull you forward or to show you with a quiet knowing what is no longer working. Sometimes it sounds like, I can't keep doing this. I don't want to do this Tuesday night, going out drinking with friends anymore. I don't want to do this. Or maybe you're starting to feel in your career like there has to be something more meaningful. Or you have the nudge to write the book and it's been there for a while and it keeps getting stronger. Maybe you start to feel like something is heavy all of a sudden, like a job or a relationship or something that's going on that it's like it's weighing heavy on you. Sometimes it shows up, as I say, as a desire, as a nudge, as a goal, as a vision that lands in your body before it even makes sense in your mind. Or you'll get an image of something or a dream or ooh, this is initiation energy. And a lot of people miss this and delay this, and I can do this too, don't worry, but we put it off, right? And you've heard this and probably seen quotes about don't put off the nudges. When the universe whispers, listen to it when it whispers so that it doesn't have to yell. So that you don't have to be forced to make the change through dramatic circumstances. Make the change while it's a nudge, right? Easier said than done. But this is the initiation. This is the part where most people, like I say, delay or miss it for a while. And the initiation is sacred. It's not you being ungrateful for your job. It's not you just being restless or like, why can't you just be content with what is? It's not you being dramatic. It's not you with some far outlandish, far out dream that's never going to happen. Like, oh, weird. It's not anything out there. It's your soul saying, you're ready for more. It's your deeper you saying, we are ready to expand. So with this pattern, you can see it in your entire life. Like when I shared about 2025, I went through a full transformation pattern from the end of 2024 all the way through, as I explained. So you can go through it in your complete life. Like everything is whispering and nudging and all this stuff. You can go through this in almost what feels like your whole life. But often we're going through this in different areas of your life. So if you're focusing on changing your relationship to money, or you're going after starting a business, as I mentioned already, or you want to go through emotional healing, you want to stop a habit or a pattern, you want to get healthier, it always starts with an initiation. So it's your soul, it's your inner being, it's your higher being saying you are ready for more. So this phase then leads you into the breakdown. And this is the part that nobody puts on their vision board, because once the initiation happens, what's no longer aligned has to loosen. So this feels messy. This is the beginning of the goo phase. The breakdown can feel like anything from you feeling like you're breaking down, like I can't handle this anymore, I'm exhausted, or I can't keep going in this way or that way. It can also feel like a job change, like unexpected, someone being let go of their job, or a relationship shift. Somebody walks out of your life, somebody, changes something. It could be old coping mechanisms stop working and you start reverting back into old habits. In the other way, if we're going after a goal or we're kind of moving forward, the breakdown is the part where we go, okay, what is not working? What do you have to change? Let go of? Are there habits getting in your way from achieving this goal? Is there a belief that needs to break down about you not being good enough, or who am I to do this? Is there a habit or a way of being that you need to change? This is the part of like, okay, we're getting serious. We're moving through transformation. So some people might have a dark night of the soul on a huge, human level, or sometimes it's like everything starts to feel gooey, everything feels messy, breaking down, like there's no going back, things are starting to change. And this is where some people say, like, why is everything falling apart at once? Or say you're wanting to make more money and a breakdown happens where a huge bill comes and then one system of income dries up and you're going like, what the heck, the breakdown? It's not fun again, right? So we ask, why is everything falling apart? Or I asked for growth, not this. I asked for money, not this. What is happening? And this is where life is decluttering you. And in the book, I have so many tools of how to navigate the breakdown in all of these phases. I have the what to do and all the tools, but this is where life is literally dismantling what is in your way. So we say, hey, I want this thing. And life doesn't just see it like, okay, it's 1, 2, 3, and now you're there. No, there's a lot of decluttering from our beliefs and our energy and our actions and our habits. And there's so much. So we can't build something new on a foundation that no longer fits. You can't hope to be healthy with habits that are directly contrasting it. So life starts removing what can't come with you. So remember the nudge, the initiation was the whisper of what's to come. This is the full on, okay, things are going to start breaking down. And it's not always scary. I'm not saying you're going to lose your job, you're going to lose your house. I'm not saying that. It's internal, it's emotional. Like I said, it can be beliefs or habits that are getting in your way. Like this pattern of self-sabotage has to break down. It can be like that. Something needs to break down for you to move forward. So this is often where emotional healing resurfaces. Old wounds, old deep feelings of not being enough or inadequate or alone, times when you're like, I thought I dealt with this, right? No, here we go. Another round of squeezing the old stuff out. The emotional healing will come up in the breakdown if there's something directly contrasting what you say you want and where you're going. So old patterns, old grief, old wounds, things can come up not because you're regressing, but because you're ready. We're ready to come back around to this wound with new tools, new awareness, new consciousness. Again, when you know you're in a pattern, you're like, okay, wow. Like in this past year, my feelings of being so like alone and broken, like they were so deep and it was coming up to be healed so I could move forward. So that is the breakdown. As I said, it's the beginning of the goo phase. So now talking about the goo phase, this is one of my favorite parts to talk about because we all are going through these in so many different ways. But after the breakdown or through the breakdown becomes the middle. And this is the messy middle. This is the fog. This is the in-between where we are right at, if you picture a pendulum like swinging, the center point, it's the bottom of the phase. It doesn't mean bottom as in worse. But when the butterfly goes into the chrysalis and breaks down, its whole body breaks down into goo. And then all of a sudden, now it's goo. It's not a butterfly anymore. It's not a caterpillar anymore. And it's not yet a butterfly. The middle part, the goo. So this is inside the chrysalis. The caterpillar is goo. It's not instantly a butterfly. It has no digestive system, no wing structure, no eyeballs, no anything. It's goo. So this is the part where things have the opportunity to start again, blank slate. So the breakdown, you're stripping away these things and then you're in the middle. And this is where, again, you're not yet where you're going. You're not yet where you were. Sometimes you might feel foggy. You might feel unmotivated. You might feel unsure. You might feel like your vision changes from like all these things you thought you wanted and then this goo phase and then headed toward now what you want. And it can be really unsettling. We can feel like we don't have wings yet. We don't have structure yet. We're goo. And again, you can feel unmotivated. You can feel almost despondent in a way of like, I don't even know, overwhelmed. It's okay. You're not lost. You're in transformation. And sometimes a goo phase, say even in a business, could be like, oh, this offer isn't working. Okay, what do we do? And we're kind of in the middle. We're spitballing ideas. We're doing this. No, that doesn't work. It's the in between, whether it's emotionally or it's physically, you're manifesting something. If you're starting to exercise, the nudge to exercise will be there in the initiation, and then the breakdown of some of the unhealthy habits or the things you're telling yourself. And then as you're in that goo, you're like, well, what do I do? Should I just go for a walk, or should I do this? And you might try one thing and you don't like it. That's the goo phase. You're now knee deep, like you're in it, but you don't yet have clarity. You don't yet know where this is all headed and what your next exact step is. So this is that goo phase. And as you use your tools, as again, I talk about fully in the book and guide you through the whole thing, but as you use your tools to recognize what is coming up for me or what you're feeling, what is asking to be healed, it's okay, I'm in the middle. That means change. I'm not where I was, thankfully. And yeah, I might not be yet where I'm going, but that's okay. Look after yourself, nurture your body, slow down, have a bath. Connect with your intuition, go out into nature. The more you just allow yourself to goo, instead of trying to scramble and figure it out, like I've said in previous episodes, it's like you're rolling around on a tarp covered in slime. No, the goo phase is about just rest into it. If you're in it, you're in it. And you might as well get the memo, get the lesson, look after yourself, and move through it with tools. So as we move through this goo phase of okay, I'm not where I was, everything's foggy, I don't know. After that comes the shift. And this is where that Ananis Nin quote comes in. And the day came where the risk to remain tight in a bud was more than the risk it took to blossom. And this is the shift. This is the moment where something clicks. This is the moment where a new action is taken. Sometimes we go, F it. You only live once this time, I'm doing it. Or sometimes you've deeply realized that you never learned to love yourself, or there's this big other thing going on, and you stop and you go, you know what? I am going to start showing up for myself. There's a shift. Sometimes it's quietly, sometimes it's dramatically, sometimes it's a full body, I'm effing done energy. But this is where the risk of staying the same finally outweighs the risk of change. Where you've started realizing things, you've had things come up, and life is kind of going, what are you going to do? Are you going to go light? Are you going to go dark? Are you going to go after your goals? Are you not? And the moment where you choose to walk yourself through that threshold, and then something clicks, the moment where you stop waiting, where you stop negotiating with yourself, where you stop trying to think or analyze your way out of it. When that moment comes, you move. And it doesn't mean hustle, and it doesn't mean 24/7, everything's different, no sugar ever. It means you start taking new actions. You start making different decisions. You could be in your shift and go, F it, I'm going back to therapy to get help with this. Or that's it, I'm starting the business, I'm buying the domain. Or that's it, I'm going for a walk. I'm going to stop waiting. I'm going to stop talking myself out of a walk. I'm worth it, I'm going. So these are the moments of shift. New actions, new decisions, new choices. You start to invest or look at your money differently. You start to respond differently. And as you've heard me talk about perhaps in previous teachings, when you change your actions, you change the whole outcome of your manifestation. Because what you do in action then shifts your mood. When you take action, when you go out for that walk, it shifts your mood. It shifts your energies. Your energies. It does shift your energies. It shifts your energy. But new actions create new results, the law of cause and effect. So when you have your F it, I'm ready moment, I'm investing with this mentor to start my business. I'm starting the book tomorrow. I'm doing a workout today. I'm buying a house. That's it. I'm doing it. We're doing it. When we make that shift and we have our, the risk to stay where I was is now heavier than the risk to blossom, we are ready. So sometimes it's gentle inside where we're like, F it, I'm experiencing a shift. I'm now showing up for myself. And sometimes, like I said, it's a full life, I'm done situation. Either way, it's real. And this is where our identity starts to shift. For us to move through something, to heal, to manifest, it's about us becoming that person who stands on stage, who pitches their idea, who makes bold decisions, who gets through things. The becoming the version of us that shows up for ourselves. It's an identity shift. I am someone who shows up for myself. I am someone who moves myself forward. I am someone who is taking a new action. And this is where things really start to change. So we see again this pattern even in nature, through the butterfly, through our own upgrades and our own transformation. So in the shift, this is that moment of change. This is that moment where we stop waiting. And it's more of an energetic thing than anything. It's the F it, I'm ready moment. And after this, when we start taking a new action, when we're like, that's it, I'm nurturing my health, even if it's going for one walk and drinking more water today, I'm doing it. After we start practicing this shift, practicing being in this new skin, but like taking this new actions, upgrading our identity. As we do that, we bring ourselves into the beautiful rebirth, the other side, what the initiation was leading to the entire time, that new identity or version of ourselves, or now we're a business owner, or now we're stepping onto stages, like whatever it is, it's that rebirth where this new identity becomes natural. So when the butterfly comes out of the chrysalis, I always think of this, and it dries off its wings and it's ready, it has a moment on a leaf where it has never flown before. So for some reason, it's intuition, it's instinct, it's going to fly, but it's never actually done that before. And as it lifts off of the branch, flying for the first time, this is the beginning of the rebirth. And I'm sure she wobbles a bit and goes, whoa, whoa. And then pretty soon, oh, okay, now we're flying. I've got my arms out like I'm a butterfly. And pretty soon, okay. And then it's fluttering and learning this. And from that moment forward, this butterfly has different actions, different diet. It literally eats different things from a caterpillar to a butterfly. It's got different eyes. Its habits change. Where it sleeps changes. Like that just blows my mind. And as she starts flying as the butterfly, the identity upgrades. And then she's not forcing it because now she's gliding, right? Not trying to control it. This is where we sink into the new pattern, sink into the new identity, sink into the other side of the narrative that was holding us back. This is where we become that person. Our habits change, our standards change, our nervous system settles into its new normal, its new baseline. So the butterfly had never flown before it flies the first time. It trusts the process. And once it does, it sees the world from the sky, not the ground. That's the rebirth, where you get to live the higher perspective, where you get to see your life from the observer, from the higher perspective, from the one who is the deliberate creator of this reality, meaning you are the one that is living your life. You are now seeing it through the sky. You're dreaming, you're going after it, you're achieving those goals, you're stepping into that new identity. You're no longer on the ground. That is the rebirth. So this pattern doesn't just show up, as I say, in one area. It shows up throughout it ripples into everything, to the point where, as an intuitive channel and a reflector, it just blows my mind so much. It's like if you're to zoom in on a photo that has a photo of a photo and a photo, or the mirrors, and you can literally zoom in forever. This pattern ripples through everything. When you recognize it, you stop fighting it, you stop asking what's wrong with me, and you start asking, where am I in my cycle, in this pattern? And then that question alone creates compassion and momentum. And the book that I wrote is literally a guidebook for this, written in a way that you're going to love it beginning to end. But then you can also go back and look at different chapters. Because as stuff starts coming up, you're like, what did she say about the goo phase? What am I supposed to do? Or I'm in this rebirth, but it feels messy. Let's go back and look at that chapter. Because we are in a cycle. We are in a pattern of life. It's always a pattern. The initiation, the breakdown, the liminal space, the messy middle, the goo phase, as you want to call it, the shift, and then the embodiment, the rebirth, the on the other side, the whole reason you're doing this. So we see this in the butterfly and the chrysalis, as I said. We see this in the seasons, where in the initiation, something begins to wither, loses energy. In the breakdown, there's the releasing of the leaves, as I said, stillness, nothing there in that liminal space. The soil looks empty, the tree looks like it's doing nothing, but everything inside is reorganizing. And in spring, it moves into its shift where the first, shoots break through or the leaves break through, and rebirth in the summer, the full expression, the growth, the life force. Nature never rushes winter, yet spring is always inevitable. Stillness isn't a failure, it's a preparation. I was thinking this too, that we also see this in forest fires. The initiation is like the ecosystem becomes overcrowded, stagnant, or too dry, or, brittle ground, or whatever's going on. A breakdown. The fire destroys what can no longer thrive. It clears out a whole bunch of stuff, that liminal space, the blackened ground, the devastation, and then into a shift. Nutrients are released into the soil from the ash. The sunlight reaches the forest floor and moisture comes in, and there's a rebirth. New growth emerges, stronger and actually more diverse than before. So sometimes the destruction isn't punishment. It's not that something's wrong. It's a necessary renewal. Life burning away what was blocking the thing that was growing. I also see this in molting of things like snakes. I was thinking about that while writing the book, how there's the initiation where the old skin becomes restrictive, right? Then there's a breakdown, the shedding, the vulnerability. You're exposed, but you have to shed that old skin. Then there's the goo phase, the middle phase, the soft, unprotected skin of, say, a snake. Then there's the shift where the new skin starts to come, it starts to harden. And the rebirth, where it has a larger, freer body. It has a skin that now fits it. Growth requires shedding. Growth, even the shedding and the cracking and the breaking and the releasing is not weakness. When you're feeling that way, you're mid-shed. And it's so important. I see this pattern also in seeds, where in the initiation, say when I'm planting my garden in the spring, the seed is planted in that initiation. The breakdown comes in and the seed cracks open, which almost could look bad, right? If you took a seed above ground and cracked it all open, that would look bad. It's a breakdown, it's a crack open. And then there's that middle space where there's darkness and pressure and no light and nothing's really happening. And then there's a shift where the first root starts to form. The first root of the root system forms, and the rebirth where the sprout breaks through the surface. It reminds me of that bamboo that grows downward for something like 3 or 5 years. There's nothing going on up top, but once it's done, it shoots up like a foot every couple days because it's in like a rainforest, and it's incredible. Sometimes we are planting our seeds underground. Sometimes in this initiation, even in the breakdown, trust in the process of what's going on underground, because life isn't just the shift and the rebirth. Life isn't just hoping for something and then shooting yourself into, okay, now I'm there. That's not how it works. And that's why a lot of people don't have results when it comes to manifestation, because they don't look at manifestation as self-growth with magic, truly. So when you start to see this pattern, as I've said, it starts to give you the confidence and the maybe self-inquiry to go, where am I in my pattern? Am I in an initiation where things are nudging and things are whispering? Am I in a breakdown where it feels like everything's dissolving and I'm in goo? Am I in that in-between where there's almost nothing going on? No clarity, no structure, no movement yet? Am I in my shift where I'm starting to take new actions, where I'm starting to move myself forward? Or am I in my rebirth where I'm out the other side? And there are things in our lives where we are on the other side of that thing we used to deal with. And then there's other areas of our life where we're just being nudged into our next phase. And that's the thing with this. You don't go through it once. You go through it over and over. I could have a goal in my business or something emotional I'm working through, and I work through it to the end. And then guess what? Something else comes up, or we have another goal. So as long as we can start to look at it like that, and as you have your goals for 2026, as you move yourself forward, trusting those nudges before they yell, trusting that sometimes things need to break down. The old structures, systems, beliefs, habits need to break down. And sometimes we're going to be in goo, where nothing totally makes sense. But if you can give yourself that understanding, that compassion, use your tools, nurture yourself through that phase, you will get to the point where the risk to remain where you were is more than the risk it takes to blossom, and you will take a new action. You can guide yourself into your shift by saying, what is one small action I can take that's different? If I'm wanting to become healthier, can I just take my vitamins? Can I go for a 10-minute walk? Can I do that yoga class? Is there one thing I can do to start to shift myself into the next phase? Because you can bring yourself through these phases. In some ways, you can't rush them, like you can't rush seasons. But if you're aware, you can actually move through these with speed compared to if you're not aware and you're fighting it and you're hating it and you're, rolling around in the goo wondering what's wrong with yourself. That's where it will be delayed. So when we look at it like we grow through what we go through, right? And we're going through this and let's grow through it. You do move through it faster with a different awareness than if you're going, reacting to life and wondering why you're blocked and feeling all messed up and, reacting to everything, not aware that you are in a phase that is very important. And that phase leads into the next. You are in your process of transformation. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed this, my love, and that you can see yourself in this pattern that ripples through reality. This is how we evolve. This is how we move forward. It's not a 1, 2, 3 and you're done. It's a path. It's an evolution. And as an old soul, as somebody who's here to make a difference, as a deep thinker, as somebody with lots of goals, as somebody who wants to help change the world, you are going through these patterns and these phases as well. And remember that you are on the other side of some things that you used to be more acutely dealing with. There are things that you were initiated into that you've now moved through the process. And you can ask yourself, what am I being initiated into now? What are the nudges going on for this next chapter of life? What could I listen to as it's a whisper so that it doesn't become a yell? What can I start acting on now to not resist the process, but instead move along with it? So that you can manifest and move forward and, achieve those goals that you have on your heart and really become that person you were always meant to be, because it is who you are. Okay, my love, I'm rooting you on. I cannot wait for you to enjoy the book. Look below in the show notes for the link. Also down there is the wait list to my next retreat. We are closing in on details, the exact location, the dates. It's all coming to a head. I am planning it. I'm so excited. We're going somewhere warm. That's what I'm going to say. It's going to be so good. So get on the wait list if you're not already for the next retreat. And I will see you in the next episode. Have a great day.